Okay, Dr. Mindy here, and I wanted to leave a video with many of the questions that we're getting on keto fasting, women, and your hormones. So if you've been following me at all, you know that I have a lot of videos and a lot of strong opinions about when women should fast and do keto according to their cycle, or for those of you that do not have a cycle, I want to address that as well. So let's start with, there's about 4 different scenarios that we're seeing in the Resetter group and we're seeing here on YouTube of women wanting to know when they should fast and when they should do keto. So let's start with the typical one. What if you have a normal cycle? It doesn't matter what age you are, but you're like clockwork. Like your cycle will always start typically on the same day or within a couple of days. So for you, that week before your cycle starts, 7 days before, is when you are going to want to not fast and you're going to want to up your carbs. Now, here's the reason why. That is the week that your body needs the most estrogen and the most progesterone, especially progesterone. So one of the things that we're seeing with women a lot is that they go into the keto world, they go into the fasting world, they get great changes with weight and their mental clarity and their energy, but it whacks their hormones out. And part of that is because this week before your cycle, if you have a regular cycle, you should be upping your carbs, you should be doing less fasting. You want to make sure that you're giving your body the opportunity to make as much estrogen and as much progesterone as possible. I've done videos on what do you eat for progesterone building. Progesterone is our antioxidant hormone, or an anti-anxiety hormone. So it is the hormone that keeps us calm and peaceful. So if you're feeling edgy and irritable the week before your cycle, this is especially for you. So foods that will feed progesterone are not keto foods. So they are potatoes, quinoa, beans, citrus fruit, tropical fruits, squashes. So I really encourage you that from day 1 of your cycle to that PMS week, usually about day 21, you can do keto and fast no problem. But it's that from day 21 until you actually have a cycle that you need to think about not fasting and really upping these hormone building foods. Okay? So that's for the person who has a cycle. Now, let's go into the perimenopause woman. So with the perimenopause woman, one of the things that we see is your cycles really hit or miss. So there's a couple ways we've approached this. If you're the type of person where you're now at that phase where you're getting spotting, but then all of a sudden your cycle doesn't come for another week or 2, the minute you get spotting, that is where your body is trying to build up progesterone so that that inner lining of the uterus can shed. That's your carb load time. So if you're lucky enough to spot where you have some indication that your period's about to come, then that's when you want to stop the fasting. That's when you're going to want to do the carb loading I mentioned in the first scenario. You could use breast tenderness the same. You could use any PMS symptom the same for the perimenopausal woman. When you are feeling those symptoms come on, that's when you want to build hormones. You want to rely on fasting less. Okay, so that's the second scenario. The third scenario is one that's a little more difficult, and then I want to get to the fourth, which will be the postmenopausal woman. But the third scenario, one of the interesting things there is that that some of you have, and we've seen this in our comments on YouTube here, is if you have like an IUD or where you're not getting a regular period, and you're young, or maybe you're not getting a regular period because you have an autoimmune condition. So you have no idea around where your cycle is. So with that person, what I always say is you can download, I have a guide for women for doing the keto biotic diet. You can go to my website and just look for the keto biotic diet for women, and we'll send you a chart. And day 1, you just start on day 1. Because you're not bleeding, so you start on day 1 and you just go all the way through 28 days. So you're still doing 3 weeks of keto and 1 week of hormone building. You're just not following it according to your cycle because you're not sure when your cycle is. Does that make sense? Okay, the postmenopausal woman. So with the postmenopausal woman, what's interesting about her is that your estrogen and your progesterone is pretty low. So you still need to build some of the progesterone that I talked about with the perimenopausal woman and the woman who has a regular cycle. Like, you still need progesterone, but your requirements for it are a little bit less. So I give you a couple of options. One is you kind of fall in the category of you can do keto and fasting pretty well for all month long. Like, there's no cycle, there's no ovulation, so you could just do it all month long and that would be fine. If anxiety and insomnia are a big part of your postmenopausal experience, then 3 days out of the month, only 3, I would pick to do the hormone building, where you're not fasting and you're actually up doing more carbs. So just pick a couple of days. Ideally, they should be in a row. And the reason for that is we do want to give your body a chance to start to build some progesterone if you're already experiencing some anxiety and insomnia. Okay? 4 different types. Let me recap that. Normal cycle. You're going to not fast. You're going to carb load the week before your period, but you're going to carb load with smart carbs. This doesn't mean go out and eat pizza every night. Okay, second group is the perimenopausal woman. You're not really sure when you're cycling, so you're gonna keep an eye out for tender breasts, spotting, hot flashes, signs that your cycle's about to come, and that will be your go-to moment where you're gonna start doing the carb loading and not fasting. Okay. Third person, the one with the IUD. If you have an IUD or you're young and there's a particular reason you don't have a cycle, you're just going to get the guide, start on day 1, go all the way through day 28, the way that I sectioned it out in the women's guide. So you're just going to kind of go with a pre-programmed cycle that you're creating for yourself. Postmenopausal woman, you don't need to worry about this so much. You can fast and keto almost any time, but I encourage you to pick 3 days out of the month where you're not fasting and where you're building the hormones that you need for progesterone. Okay? Those are the 4 different types. If you want the woman's guide, the sheet that I have, just put in there woman's keto sheet. Just put it in the comments and I'll make sure that someone on my team sends you a link so you get that. There's no charge for that. We just want you to understand this so you succeed at it. And yeah, any other questions? I think those are the 4 major things that we're seeing. If you have other questions about when you should, and you're a woman, and when you should do keto and fasting, please leave them in the comments and we'll make sure we get to you. So, hey, Dr. Mindy here, and if you enjoyed this video, please share it out to the world. I'm trying to get really cutting-edge health information into people's hands. And if you want to see more videos like this, just subscribe to my channel and you'll get updates as to when I go live and new videos that I put out there. Every Thursday, by the way, I do a live video from here and answer your questions. So if there are questions you want me to answer, join me then and I'll make sure that I address them. Thanks. Have an awesome day.